Hi there, let's get started on making this super easy spring gnome watercolor thank you card. I just took a regular piece of watercolor paper and folded it and then tore it in half. This gnome that I got at the Dollar Tree is going to be my inspiration. So there's just a quick look at it. I could not get it to stay still. But you get the gist. So first I'm going to start with kind of just sketching out what I think it's going to look like. You want to do this with pretty light marks. That way it doesn't leave indentions and you can erase it and it won't show through your paint. I really didn't erase well enough because you can still see it, but luckily it doesn't make too big of a difference. And if you're good at freehanding it, feel free to do that. I just prefer to really kind of map it out on the paper and plan where everything will go. So I have the gnome and then I am adding a butterfly in the corner and then just some random flowers around the paper. Of course, just feel free to do whatever you like. This is kid friendly, so we're gonna really just kind of do whatever comes to mind. It doesn't have to be super perfect or anything fancy. I also apologize, my setup isn't the best. I just started recording videos, so I'm still working on figuring out the best way to do it. But thanks for watching anyway. This is the soft putty that you use to erase on your paper. So we're just gonna loosen it back up and then take it across the page. And you can see, I really need a new one, it's kind of dirty. But you can see that the lead from the pencil just comes right up. So you take away the dark pencil marks, but you still kind of can see just a light guideline that you can use when painting. Now, I got these liquid watercolor paints. They did not come in this tray. That was what my dry palette came in, and then I took out all of the paint and then I use it for my wet paints. Now I just add a little as I go. So you just see me here adding water to all the colors so I can really see what they're going to look like. And I do this with the watercolor pencil or brush. I got these at Walmart, but you fill them with water. I got them for when I was traveling. And yeah, they work really well. I really like those, but that's just an easy way to add water to your paint so you can see kind of what you're doing. So as you see, I am kind of I wanted to do purple, which of course purple isn't a color that came in the palette. So we're gonna kind of mix some colors together and just see what we can do. This is also why I like using this palette, because there's so many open little spots in it where I can hold different colors. But of course, use whatever color you like for your gnome. I'm starting on the hat and kind of using that to shape my gnome, and then also the rest of the painting. And then I'm just going to go ahead and wet all of the hat area and add color as I go. This is going to give it a really nice blended look. And since I am already mixing colors to get this pretty purple, I'm going to add a little bit of red and blue in it as well, just for a little bit of dimension. But once again, do what you like, mess around with it, and see what works for you. So a big part of watercolor that I struggle with is letting the paint fully dry. So while this hat is drying, I'm going to move on to another part of the painting. If you don't let it fully dry and you keep going in, you risk overworking your water in your paint, and you'll see that that can be quite easy to do. So that's something you really want to be cautious of. So I'm going to move on to a different part of the painting while this is finishing drying. Flowers are one of my favorite things to paint with watercolor. You really can't, well, sometimes you can, but I try not to mess them up. The colors just show up really beautifully on the petals, and there's just so many different types of flowers. So try and have fun with it. Have a flower in mind that you want this to look like this one, maybe it's a daisy, and kind of go from there. Also, you'll see in the end of the video when I'm working at the bottom, I really just use dots of this watercolor paint and I let it kind of create the flower itself. There's not a whole lot of work for me to do because the way the colors flow and act naturally can create a flower. This in this corner is going to be a butterfly. I didn't love how this butterfly turned out. I wish that I would have done it more three-dimensional. Maybe it was flying sideways, but you can learn from my mistake. It's just very, very two-dimensional, and this, honestly, I didn't have a really great plan for the butterfly. So either way, I'm happy with how it turned out, but in the future, I think I would go with something more three-dimensional and not so flat looking. Or maybe just like a different area of the card or something like that. I did want to incorporate butterflies because my gnome that it was based off of, my inspo gnome, had butterflies on the hat, and I thought it was super cute. But this is another thing where the paint really does the work for you, which is so nice, and that's why I love watercolor so much. Then I'm just going in with a skin tone color paint to do the nose. And you can see here that the nose really brings it all together. It's such a big part of creating this gnome. Even just there, I got a little too much water between the hat, which probably wasn't fully dry, and the nose, and it kind of ran together. If this happens, you can blot it with a paper towel. I didn't have one handy, so I just used my finger. You could also use a paintbrush that hasn't been used yet and is still dry to kind of take up that water and make sure it's not bleeding too much. Next, you can see I realized that I kind of cut my hat off a little too short. And my gnome, he looks a little bit naked, so I went back in and just added to the sides. I still had the pretty purple color that I had made from earlier, but you can always add whatever you want to your gnome. If you wanted to wear clothes, if you wanted to make the beard a certain color, whatever you think looks best. I just kind of added the sides of the hat so it would create that shape a little bit more. Now, this is where I started to have a little bit more fun. I'm not the best at watercolor. It's very much amateur, but I do, well, I'll say I struggle because of the amount of planning that goes into it. I'm not good at planning. I struggle with it. And so what I like is when it comes to creating these little flowers or dots or kind of being messy, where everything doesn't really have a certain place or a certain color. You can tell in this that I didn't really use any kind of color palette, and it would probably look a lot better if I had decided the colors prior to doing it. But that's also what's fun about watercolor is it's unpredictable, and even if you are a planner, it can still surprise you with how it ends up. So you can see here, I'm just going in with the dots. I'm putting paint on my brush first, and then I'm just barely dipping the end of it into water to really get a nice big drop of water, unless there's already a good bit in the paint that you're using. I'm really just going in, putting water on the page, messing with different colors. You can see I'm adding a darker orange to this yellow and just seeing how the colors flow together. And that's another thing with this is you want to wait until it dries before you touch it, because then your colors will all run together. So it's really important, especially with these flowers and the dimensional colors. You want to let them fully dry unless you're adding more specifically to that flower. But yeah, just have fun with it. Use whatever colors you like, any shapes, any kind of flower that you can think of. Different brushes will give you different types of petals. I'm using kind of a petal shaped brush, but I'm just putting dots together. So yeah, do what you like and do what you think is best and have fun with it. Now, once that my first layer of color is done, and that would be the hat, the butterfly, and the flower in the top right, I'm just going to go in and add a little bit more color, more dimension, more layers to it. Dots to the butterfly wings. I messed around with the flower a little bit, probably too much, so it's a fine line, but do what you like and mess around and see what kind of different combinations you can make. And then just layering, letting it dry, layer, let it dry, layer. That's really the most important thing, and it adds so much to the picture. I really want this to be super springtime. It's April. I want there to be flowers. I want it to be beautiful. So I'm adding in as many flowers in the background as I can. They're also pretty simple, which is nice. But you can always adjust this to any time of year, which is really nice. If it was Christmas, you could have a gnome with a Santa hat, and some snowmen or anything like that. But yeah, this is going to be just a simple little thank you card. I like to hand paint all of my, thank you cards, birthday cards, everything like that. And it just gives it a little bit more of a personal touch. I don't know that the people receiving them love it because sometimes they look crazy. But I hope that they do, and they know that when I made it, I was thinking of them, and they can appreciate that, which I'm sure they do. I think that this is also just a great fun watercolor exercise because, of course, kids can do it as well, and you can teach them about watercolor, teach them about painting. You really can't mess it up, and if you are writing someone a thank you note, it's so good for the kids to like know and understand what a thank you note is and why you write them. I think I didn't learn until high school, so teaching kids about them a little bit sooner in life, and the people that you love that you want to give a thank you note to, being able to give that to them from your kid and have it handmade, and or just even like a little birthday card. I prefer anything handmade any day, so I think that's why I really like this kind of exercise, and I'm hopefully going to figure out some more to do and to put up because I have plenty of thank you notes to write. But it looks like I'm getting pretty close to finishing this up, so I'm just going to stop this voiceover. If you're still watching, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I found most of my love and most of my tutorials on YouTube for watercolor, and I've honestly learned so much. I'm still, of course, an amateur, but if you are watching this and you do like it and it's something you're interested in, just don't give up. People think that art comes naturally, and for some people, I'm sure it does, but most people, you have to practice a lot and put a lot of work into it, and it can still be fun. You can still be spontaneous, and yeah, you can still enjoy it. So keep going. Don't give up. Enjoy it. And good paper and good paint goes a long way. That's all I will say. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe if you can. I am going to post tutorials weekly and fun little activities for kids like this. So yeah, I appreciate it so much. Have a wonderful day and never stop painting.